Hello everyone and welcome back to a new Football Manager experiment where we take a look at what would happen if you completely destroyed a club. Now, as you can see on the front page of this screen, Arsene Wenger has resigned as manager of Arsenal, but he is not the only thing to have changed at the club. As you can see, they are totally gutted. They have no stadium. Or they do have a stadium, but it's only got 750 seats and it's got a sand surface. They've got no captain, no vice-captain, no key player. That's because they have no players. Obviously, no manager now. I've destroyed their reputation down to nothing. They're an amateur club. If we have a look at the club details, you'll also see one reputation, one club attendance, finances minus £201 million, no transfer budget, wage budget, no sugar daddy, facilities at 1111 minus 1 for corporate facilities. I'm not even sure what minus 1 means on corporate facilities. Stadium condition is up at 100, which is the worst possible value for a stadium. So it's basically just going to fall apart as soon as that one fan goes into it. Just absolutely everything destroyed that I could in the in-game editor. They've got nothing left. I've gone and if we have a look at the staff, they do still have a few directors and the chief doctor, none of which I can remove without going into the backroom editor. But even then you can't remove them, you can just change them. So everything is gone. They've got no senior squad left, nobody in there. They're all greyed out. Look, the under-23s have nobody in them. The under-18s have nobody in them. Just the greyed out players that have to be in the club. There's just nothing left. They're completely destroyed. Now, they do still have sponsorship money. Those little things in the game mechanics that I can't change without going into the back full editor. I decided not to go that far. I do want to give them some hope of keeping things. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very predictable experiment. So I'm hoping that leaving in the sponsorship money, the Premier League TV money and all the rest of it will give them some chance of not completely bottoming out. They're still in the Champions League, which will boost their reputation. Playing in the Premier League will boost their reputation. They'll still get some TV money. So I think eventually they might hit a little medium, and obviously they'll get parachute payments out of the Premier League as well. But I thought it would be quite fun just to see how far they will fall and if they will drop out of the game completely, because I've loaded leagues up to the Vanarama National North and South, so they've got to drop 6 leagues to fall out of the game. Is it 6 leagues? No, 7 leagues. They've got to drop 7 leagues to fall out of the game, I think. So that's a long way to go, but they could do it quite quickly. It's going to be interesting to see what signings they make. If the chairman tries to save the club, I assume they'll get a new owner and probably a new stadium as well. They'll have to temporarily relocate anyway from the Emirates. So a lot to look at as we go forward. So what I'm going to do now is go forward 1 year and we'll see how Arsenal have done in the Premier League. Well, we are now 1 year forward, and the first thing to note is that it's nearly impossible to find Arsenal. There are so many Arsenals in the game, and it ranks them on reputation, I believe. So they now have moved up to about the 10th most reputable Arsenal in the game. As we can see from the front screen, they're still at the Emirates, still got a sand surface. They haven't even turned that to grass yet. Their form doesn't look too great down there. Obscure status, still finance is secure now though, which is good. Manager and everything have started to replicate, but the first thing to do is have a look at their competitions, and as we can see, Spurs have won the league. Arsenal have finished bottom with 0 points and a minus 135 goal difference. That is finishing bottom by some distance. Top 4 benefiting Stoke and Bournemouth finishing up in 7th, both doing well there. But Arsenal bottom of the league with Middlesbrough and Swansea, knocked out in the 3rd round of the FA Cup by Bristol Rovers and the EFL Cup by Manchester United. If we just have a quick look at the senior squad schedule, wow, that is a lot of defeats. It took them so long to get a goal as well. They actually haven't scored in any of the fixtures you can see here. An awful lot of goals going in against them. An 8-0 defeat to Swansea on the opening day, 6-0 to Villarreal in the Champions League, 9-0 to Roma away in the Champions League, 8-0 to Crystal Palace, 7 to City. Sunderland only beating them by 2-0, but 3-1 they did finally score. Matthew Buchanan getting the goal in the 31st minute, their first goal of the season coming on the 10th of December. And then they seem to steady their defeats a bit, not too many thrashings in there. The 6-0 from Watford, the biggest one, but they did seem to stabilise a little bit right up until they were being 8-0 by Crystal Palace. and then more 3-0s, a 5-0, right up to the end of the season. One more goal. So in the entire season, they only managed 2 goals. This one coming from Jimmy Lee, whoever he is. If we have a look at their players in the senior squad, they have now got proper players in. I imagine all of these came on a free transfer. They've got no value whatsoever. I don't even know if they're on proper contracts. Let's have a look. £0 per week for Liam Bennett. Anthony Walton, £0 per week. These players are all playing for free. If we have a look at their under 23s, only a few players in there, and in the under 18s they will have had a youth intake come in, but I imagine it would have been pretty terrible. It looks like they just don't have anybody on the wage budget whatsoever. They've completely just got everybody in on free contracts. Now if we look at the staff, they have brought some new staff in. They've got a manager, Jay Saunders. Not sure who he is if we have a look at his overview. He has had a couple of jobs, including the one at Arsenal, but at least he's been able to manage in the Premier League. That's nice for him. But I'm surprised at the number of staff they've brought in, to be fair. Not on any form of contract. They're all in on frees, so it looks like the game have not updated anything. If we look at the club's landmarks, they brought these people in. They were relegated on the 6th of March. A very early relegation there. Their youth category rating, category 1, was removed. They failed the financial fair play regulations, but that's okay because they're not going to be in Europe next season anyway. And the chairman left, and they had a new chairman coming on the 29th of May. So if we have a look at their club details, reputation still down at 750, but the attendance has jumped up to 41,000. They still have a minimum of 1 though, so I'm not sure what their attendance has been pulling out. Still an amateur club, but they do have a bit of money in the bank now. After having all that debt, I think the new owner coming in has reset their bank balance to £6 million, but they still have no transfer or wage budget. Stadium condition now at 4, which is actually a very good standard, so I'm not sure why it dropped it from 100 to 4, but they've still got the sand surface, nothing else changing for them there. So interesting that really not a lot has changed. Their new owner coming in, not doing much with the club because their reputation is so low. They won't be getting a billionaire owner coming in, or even millionaire owner, to help fix the club. That's why they've only got £6 million in the bank. But if we look at their information to see if they've still got debt, they've got £299 million of loan debt, which I'm not sure they're going to be able to pay off, because I'm not sure what their income's going to look like. Maybe the sponsorship money and the sponsorship deals that they've still got running will help them, but it's only going to have a limited effect. And if we look at the transfer history screen for this season, we can have a look at the where are they now for these players, and then drop into my inbox. I'm going to have to go right to the top here, little messages. And here is the team now. So we can have a look at where all the players went. Xhaka is now at Real Madrid, Bellerin at Barcelona, Debuchy at Atletico Madrid, Nelson and Iwobi went to City, Kieran Gibbs at United, Mesut Ozil's gone to Chelsea. 3 players went to Sevilla, so they did well out of this. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and Theo Walcott went to Liverpool, so a clear bias there for Liverpool on getting the English players in. El Neni at Lyon, Petr Cech at Monaco, Jack Wilshere's now at Leicester. Aaron Ramsey's at Southampton. Just looking for the big players here. Not too many of them around. Hermer Mertesacker and Cole Jenkinson both went to LA Galaxy, who clearly enjoyed raiding the club. I don't think Alexis Sanchez, Lawrence Koscielny and Santi Cazorla all want to Guangzhou Henda. So clearly going for the big pay packets. 250 grand a week for Alexis Sanchez. Any other big players down here? I think that's about all of them. A few more players gone to China there. Olivier Giroud also going there. But I think that is pretty much it for all the big players. So they've all managed to find new clubs and they've scattered around quite well. Sevilla and Liverpool doing very well out of that. And the China getting a few extra players in as well. Arsenal hire Saunders as manager. We didn't actually have a look at their managers. They must have gone through a few of them. If we just have a quick look now, obviously Arsene Wenger left after 20 years at the club. Steve King sacked after 134 days and Lee Sinnott sacked after 159 days. I think they probably got a goal each across their record. So their new manager, Jay Saunders, is now in there. He looks pretty terrible. But that is really all to have a look at in the first season. So let's go forward one more year and see if they've managed to stabilise in the Championship or not. Well, we are now 2 years in the future, and you can see they've been relegated from the Championship again, finishing bottom once more. They've now got a professional status on the club, though, and there's even people with faces in the club. Aidan Blanchard, now the captain. He doesn't look very old in that picture, I have to say. 22 years old now, apparently. But they're playing at the Valley, which is nice. They've moved to Charlton Stadium, leaving the Emirates behind. Now, if we have a look at their general information and just take a quick look at this screen, their loan debt quite high, estimated value really fallen down. They're also in the process of a board takeover, which might help the club's finances. The average ticket price really dropping down now they're in League One. Median prediction for League One is 24th again, so they're really still not at the point of stabilising themselves. If we look at the facilities, they're at the Valley now. Charlton own the club, so they've not bought it off them. They've got poor and basic facilities, but they're due to move back to the 4,000 capacity Emirates Stadium after the expansion. Not sure how long that is going to take. I don't think it says. Completed on the 24th of October, so just a few months, and then they'll move back to their own 4,000-seater Emirates Stadium, finally rebuilding that. But everything else still pretty terrible. If we have a look at the senior squad, there is value in the senior squad now, so they are paying wages again. Their highest value player is 140 grand for Chris Chandler, who joined them from FC United of Manchester for 52 grand. So they are finally in a position to spend money. They must have a transfer budget and a wage budget at this point. Under 18s now fully fleshed out. Under 23 still very sparse, but they are bringing people in on loan as well. But that is quite a big first-team squad, to be honest, so I imagine that's where the reserves are coming from. If we have a look at their schedule for last season to see how they got on, they did beat somebody, finally, for the first time in a year. They beat Cray 2-0. I've never even heard of Cray. Maybe somebody out there can let me know in the comments. They're from the English Isthmian League First Division South, so they had to dig quite low, but they also got a goal against Whitehawks. The recovery started here. Goal against Dover as well in the defeat. Went out to Leyton Orient in the EFL Cup first round. Still no goals in their season until they played Fulham and got 3-1 away. Blanchard getting the goal for them. No major thrashings in here though, which is nice to see. They seem to have sort of levelled out a little bit. 5-0 to Reading, their biggest defeat at this point. They got a goal against Bristol and were not far away from a result there either. 2-1 they were beaten in the end. Just a 1-0 defeat to Oxford in the Championship as well. 5-0 in the FA Cup wasn't good, but then Barnsley held to a draw. They were sent down to 10 men at 1-1 and weren't able to find the winner. Also managed to get goals against Middlesbrough and Derby. Jake Hall with a goal here, and Charles Anthony Weston Hales, the longest name in football. And then 4-1 to Leeds. They did also on the final day of the season get a 2-2 draw with Bolton. So that was the peak of their season. They got 2 points, not the best return in history, you have to say. If we have a look at their stages and drop back a year, there they are at the foot of the table, 2 points. Barnsley, who they got a point against, finished 18th. Bolton finishing down in 23rd. But the fact they managed to get a couple of points in the Championship is encouraging. I'm just hoping that now they finally got some money and people on wages and a proper stadium, that they will be able to just balance out a little bit. If we have a look at their transfer history, this season they've already spent 68k, bringing in Chris Chandler, their biggest signing, and last season they didn't spend any money whatsoever, so only 2 players ever brought in on a paid for amount, but they are getting wages at least in the club. If we have a quick look at the landmarks, we'll see that they did start to do some stuff when the new chairman came in. They turned professional pretty much straight away. They also got undersoil heating installed at the Emirates, although they still had a sand pitch from what I remember. I'm not sure you have to heat sand, so I assume they put grass down as well, although that's not in here. They were relegated from the Championship. Clayton removed as captain and Aidan Blanchard made the captain. His history and career stats, he didn't do too badly. 2 goals, 2 assists in his last season across 40 games, still not the greatest. Who was he playing for before? He was playing for Gillingham, but never got a game before moving to Arsenal in the Premier League, but didn't score there. Did better in the Championship though, so that's encouraging. If we have a look at the club details, their reputation has now increased to about the status of a team in the Vanarama National League. I think non-league teams get a reputation of 2,500 at the start of the game. So they are now around the level of a non-league team, which hopefully will help them by the time they hit that bottom point, because they will have a higher reputation. Their attendance now is lower than before. I think they were 46,000 from what I remember in the Premier League, but their minimum club attendance has increased from 1 to 1290, so they are getting fans turn out. They've also got some money in the bank. The parachute payments will help them, £90 million down there, which will really help. They've also got transfer budget and 200 grand in the wage budget, which is not bad for a Championship team. So I think we will next season see them bring in players that will help them stabilise in League One. I still expect them to finish bottom, but I think they'll get a few points, and that by the time they reach the Vanarama National League, they will actually be at that level. That is my prediction for this experiment. Obviously currently in the Valley, but they've increased their junior coaching and youth recruitment, which will help in non-league. Not really anything else to take a look at there, but it looks like they're on the road to recovery. 2 years in, with a new owner in, and the club up for sale again. They will start to bring more money in as the game tries to correct the situation going on at Arsenal. Not being hit by financial fair play or anything like that, because they don't have any expenses. So overall, doing quite well given the circumstances. But I think that will be it for this part of the experiment. If you enjoyed it, drop a like on the video. Let me know in the comments if you got any thoughts on the experiment, and also let me know if you do want to see another part to this, or if you'd rather see me start a new experiment if you're not interested in this one. And make sure to subscribe if you want to see where this experiment goes or any future experiments that we do. But until next time, see ya.